Okay, we need to address the most common question on this channel, the IDE that I've been using. So in this video, I will not only share with you the IDE that I use to write C# on my MacBook, but I will also give you a tour through the configuration of it. I will show you themes, fonts, and extensions. So let's take a look. Okay, let's start by the most common question. Which theme am I using? I have been using the Dracula colorful theme. That have access to it, you need to install a plugin into JetBrains Rider. The plugin is this one, Dracula theme. Okay, it's quite easy to find it. Once you do it, just enable the plugin and you will have kind of the same look and feel as I have right now. Other small detail in my most recent videos is that I have been using the new UI. So JetBrains Rider is introducing this new look and feel that you can enable on this option in the menu, the new UI, and just flag here and you have access to it. And why I am doing that? Because since I show a lot of code, I like to have minimalistic UIs that don't bring a lot of noise into the screen. And this one, I think they have done an excellent job on optimizing the space and the look and feel. It doesn't look like an IDE that is overloaded with options and tools. So that is the reason. Another common question is, which font am I using? In the past, my go-to font on my editors used to be Firacode. However, recently I decided to adopt the JetBrains Mono because I think it's really good. It's an excellent font, especially when you are writing code. And one thing that I always do is to enable ligatures. By doing that, what you can do is in your source code, for example, if you are writing an expression and you need to do something like a different or an equal or greater than, what you can see is that the font will replace the character by these symbols that, in my opinion, they read better. So that's why when I'm using some tool for writing code and I can decide my font, my thing is always to look for a font where I can enable the ligatures. And what about extensions, or as they are called in JetBrains Rider, plugins? I'm not a huge fan of installing a ton of plugins in my IDE. Usually I will only bring them if I'm using some type of tool that improves my experience on the IDE and I feel that I can do it in a different way. So you can find here a set of tools installed that come out of the box with the IDE. So the only plugins that I have been using lately is those two, the Cognitive Complexity plugin and the IDE Allocations Viewer. However, I have to confess that lately I have been thinking about disabling them because I'm not taking a lot of value from them. But I can show you them in action because it might be a good option for you because they are really good. The Cognitive Complexity plugin will give you this small thing that you can see here, that if you go there, it will give you a score on the cognitive complexity of that code. So for example, let's say that we increase the complexity of this source code by doing something like, so I added here some code that doesn't make sense at all, but what I wanted to do is to bring some if statements and else ifs. For example, that will also happen if you start bringing and nesting a lot of cycles, a lot of for eaches, for a lot of whiles, all of that. And you can see right now that the complexity score is growing. So now I know that this code is a bit complex and it's time to refactor it. So if you are working on a code base that has a lot of complexity and you want to spot some places that you should refactor, this is a good indicator. So go ahead and install it. The other one, the IDE Allocation Viewer, you might spot here some underlinings that are not that common when you are writing code in Rider, if you have ever used Rider. I'm talking about this one and those one. If we hover on them, you will see a message saying possible boxing allocation, or for example, in the other one, object allocation. So I find this an useful plugin to create the awareness of what you are doing. However, you will get to a point, that is the point that I am, where this is more noise than value, and that's why I'm thinking about disabling it. However, I think it's worth knowing this plugin and use it for a while. So this is my setup. It's minimalistic, it's simple. I don't use a lot of plugins and extensions. I try to not change a lot of definitions on my IDE as well. I like to keep things simple. So what about you? Have you ever tried Rider And if so, do you have any extension that you want to recommend? Let me know in the comments, and in the meanwhile, make sure you watch this video right here.